So I tried doing this video 3, maybe 4 times yesterday, and I don't really know where to start this video. It has something to do with the reason why I chose to retire from art. I remember several videos that I spoke about when it came to, why I quit art, and plus how hypocritical and taboo it is in this town to do art, because we're supposed to be known as the, quote unquote artist district. And to me, that is a very, very false, statement. And I guess with this video, I can add in some new stuff that ended up developing with, why I chose to fully retire from art. But I think with also this one, I can go back and talk about the other subjects in this video to, make it more of a refresher of things for people that, see this, and maybe some people will get an understanding now. I don't really know. It depends on what you take and what you get from this as well, plus of what you hear. So I want to start with, what I started out drawing and what influenced, me to, I guess you could say, become an artist, right? And I'm going to give away some exposed, secrets, as well. So a fair warning, yes, this video will be long. I don't know how long, but that's okay, because this is a vlog video, but it's also a topic as well, and rambling about. Now, my sister and I think several of my uncles, were artists, and they were sketch artists, and I think artists are influenced by the era and years that they came up in. So, my sister, she was born into the 70s, and you had the hippie era of that time. You had the pop rock era of the 80s, and you had the hip-hop / rap party scene of the 90s. And I knew she went to college for, a little bit for arts and designing, with what they had available back then. Just like she took painting and sculpting in high school. But this was something, when it came to the painting and the sketching, that she already knew how to do, before her years of high school. My uncles, a couple of them, just sketched out. And a lot of their influences from art came from, native drawings, native things, because, my family on my mother's side were black natives, which is Cherokee Indian and also part black, and a couple other things also. So, that which inspired them, and also prison art, because one of them did time in prison for a while as well. And everyone, was pretty much self-taught. No one really had classes. And I'll get to my thoughts on the self-taught thing a bit later on, here in this video. So me, I was influenced with the Chinese anime shows that were English dubbed that came here to America in the 80s, 90s, and of course all throughout 2000s, from especially where we are now. And some of your biggest shows that were, anime shows that aired on like Fox Kids, WB Kids, and Cartoon Network on, Toonami was, you had Static Shock, Batman, you had Rave Master, what else? You had Romy Tenshin, Tenchi Muyo, Zoids, Gundam, Static Shock. You had Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT. And those were some of the few that I grew up watching, plus Sailor Moon. And mind you, I'm 30 years old, so I can name a lot more anime and cartoon shows that are definitely better than the shit that's out today. And I'll get in a little bit back into that though. But the two main ones that, not just influenced me to do art, but everyone else at the time, I was around was, what influenced those was Gundam and Dragon Ball, right? So when it came to Gundam, because Gundam was, you had different, designed Gundams out there, and, none of the Gundams, were ever the same. So we used to, draw to the best that we could at the time, because, we were like young, like I was, elementary years. So we used to draw, the Gundams that were most definitely out, and we used to make up our own Gundam. And we would have, like little arguments, little debates about, whose Gundam was strongest, or who's looked the best, who's definitely looked the best. So me personally, of course, I had to make sure that I won, and I definitely had a little bit too much goodness, if not potential, at such a young age, because it came so naturally to me. Again, that's how I learned how to draw, because I was self-taught. I was self-taught. Now, if somebody wanted to color, one of our Gundams, because, I just never hardly done anything in color till later on in my years. So if somebody wanted to say, man, can I color that Gundam? Yeah, sure, saying go for it. Go for it, Here you go. When it came to like Dragon Ball Z characters, like we had like, people, we only had very many characters that we like to draw. We didn't have a whole lot of, transformation forms like we do now that we could definitely choose from. So what we had available to us was what we had. So we just had like base form, Goku, We had Super Saiyan Goku. We had Vegeta. We had Super Saiyan Vegeta. We had Piccolo at that time. Then we had like a Gohan, but we didn't have Super Saiyan Gohan yet. One thing, or one character we did have that we drew or tried to draw was, I think it was either Fusion Gotenks when he first appeared, and we really didn't know who this character was because the Boo arc never even aired. So, we weren't really familiar with the manga, and some stuff, got put out when it came to, character designs and stuff, early. So the only two designs that we were very aware of, and this is like the early days, of the internet, like the baby years of the internet. We didn't have very many things that we could choose from in the internet, though. There wasn't a whole lot of websites at the time, but one thing we always searched up was Super Saiyan 5 Goku and Super Saiyan like 1000. So that's what we had, and we always just kept them outline drawn. We never really colored any of the characters. As time went on, one of the first things I would say that kind of learned how to color and do different, I guess, shape designs, and that was for like these little Star Wars jet fighters that were yellow from the Phantom Menace from episode 1. So what me and a lot of people did, because we seen these little fighter jets in there, and we liked them, so we just started drawing our own shapes with them and colored them yellow because the little things they fought with in episode 1, they were like yellow, futuristic fighter planes and whatnot. And we used to make the body of them a bit big enough so we could cut them out, fold them, and fly them like paper airplanes, and kind of see who's gonna definitely fly the furthest. So there was that. The first thing I ever learned how to draw with when it came to utensils, and one thing I just hated drawing with pencil. Like I just didn't see it. I didn't start really getting in or to using pencils until like out of my high school years. So one of the things I always preferred was a pen, and that's something that I fully learned how to draw with. And I say the first time I fully got into trying to draw full body characters or half full body characters was in the place I live in now. Because when I moved into that house, we didn't have cable yet, so I had to find cable at other places before then, right, to watch stuff, if it was, if you were, or as it were, whatever terminology. And didn't, my toys were still a bit packed at the time, so there was that. Some stuff were still getting unpacked, little by little, and I had a couple of buddies that knew I was moving, and I guess they ended up kind of moving a little bit later, but luckily I connected with some people and at a new school, and I talked about, man, I'm new here, so my cable ain't hooked up. So some of them, one of them was, very, took attachment, and very kind and courteous man, young man at the time, like we all were. Somebody who ended up becoming a good friend. I don't know. I remember his name. His name was Aaron. I don't remember his last name though, but I got yearbook, so I might have to look the brother up one day. But he recorded, some stuff for me, and I was able to, catch up with some stuff. And I had another good friend as well that, we used to watch a lot of, cartoons at his place, and tried to draw most of the characters as well. His name was Eric. And how I fully, again, just going into, I kind of steered off topic, but how I fully got into wanting to do characters, or doing full body characters at the time. Mom gave me some scrap paper and a pen, and better draw something. And that's how it truly began, right there with me. And again, my level of skill at such a young age shouldn't have been that good, or considered that good, at the time. So I learned how to, really fully develop my skill with that by drawing Dragon Ball Z characters, Batman, Superman, and the Incredible Hulk. When we had internet, when we got internet, when we decided, to get our first computer, that was definitely gifted to us by my sister's in-laws at the time. Well, she still has in-laws, but one of them passed away. So it was an old, or like today's time, it would be considered old, but back then, it was brand new. It was all the rage. And gateway computers. I know people that may see this are not going to know a gateway computer, what I'm talking about, but we had a gateway computer, and it was eggshell white. The tower was like bulky as hell, like thick as a tire, really tall. We didn't have CD drives in them yet. The rich folk didn't even have CD drives in them yet. We were all still using, floppy disk. We had the eggshell white, big ass printers that had the fax and the stand hooked up to them. Like, they were just bulky. And then the computer monitor itself looked like an old TV because it had the big hump in the back of it. So I would sit in front of the computer and again looked up the characters that I just named and trying to draw them and getting to draw them. And over time, my development of my skills got better and better. And with them, I learned how to, shade. And because of that, my own skill is, it may not look like, to me, I draw, to me, like what it looks like, to what the colors look like, compared to, somebody else, like what they would do and stuff like that. Whatever an individual would do. I know some people are going to ask, or may have, questions like, okay, did you ever do art contests? No. No. Living down here in the state that I live at and in the town, they never, once in their life, have never held a art contest here at all for anybody, not even, Columbia State, or hardly any of the colleges, high schools, middle schools at all. Like none at all. And I'll get, a bit into that subject. But there was one contest during a talent show in my 5th grade year. There's two things going on. You had an art contest going on, and then you had people that were doing lip singing performances and stuff out of that nature. So I decided to enter into both, and I used to be the lead background dancer in a lip singing group at the time, and what was also going on the floor, was the judgment for art pieces. And I still have a picture, of a picture that was took of my piece that I entered into that got first place. I don't know what happened to the picture. I know it was laminated, but I don't know what happened to it. So, from there, I started, really passing the time and drawing things for other folks that wanted pictures done, and didn't really get paid for it. That's all right. In high school, well, no, let me kind of not jump to high school right now. In middle school, art for me was the only escape I had at that time. I say this because, 7th grade year was bullshit, man. Like, in the beginning, it started out good for a couple of months, and that's a story on its own, because what happened was on some bullshit for real. But they took a group of kids, put us in the abandoned part of the school that wasn't being used, put us in a classroom for like half, if not almost an entire year, man, of kids that they said, okay, your parents put you in here because to help you with your education, and you guys are known as troubled delinquents. And that whole statement was on some bullshit. Like I said, that's another story, for another time, because it involves a love story that takes place within the range of 17 fucking years. 17 years. But the only escape I got from that classroom was PE, but mainly art, because we had an art teacher named Mr. Watts. He was an old guy. He looked a lot like Santa. And it would be just about almost every other day, he would come into the class, and, we would just do art. We would just do art, and I enjoyed that. And he had his own little class for a while, but that didn't really last long, honestly. I don't know why, but he had a couple of kids in there. I was one of them, and we got to paint on like paper plates for a bit. That was fun, but we kind of want to do some bigger stuff, but never got to that. My skill, I say, which is my best skill, even till this day, is doing, face or self portraits. And that came into play like later on in my 7th grade year and 8th grade year, and especially some of the artists, that were out at that time that, really, not just influenced me in a way when it came to music, but some of the photos, that they took at the time that got me into doing what my favorite thing was to do even now, even though I retired from it, which is self-portraits. So we had some of the hip-hop artists, I'm like, 50 Cent, T.I., who else? Little Flip, G-Unit, Millionaire. So, them were some right there that, that got me into the self-portraits. I really ended up humming my skills with the self-portraits the most. And when I got to my first art class in high school, now again at this time, my skills again were just good. I don't know what else I can point it at. They were great. And I took the class. I was happy about it. I took the class to pass time, mainly. And me, I just never followed what the teacher wanted to do. Because to me, there's just no rules in art. And again, I'll get back into that. So, I still did the project, but I did it my own way, in my own way. And I still ended up passing the class. Now, I would say my 12th grade art teacher is the person that got me out of my shell from doing black and white sketches to things in color. And I did a lot of, oh wow, from Dragon Ball Z, Michael, to who else? Millionaire, and Batman drawings straight out of gel pen. Because at this time my skills were what I would consider very, very well developed, if not better. And the experimentation with what I got to do with them was something like I personally enjoyed doing that. I have a photo CD, right, of scans of a lot of my older sketches that I have done. If I knew I was going to be sharing my artwork on places such as Facebook, Instagram, and talking about my days in art on YouTube, I wouldn't have packed those disc photos up. But they're packed up because I don't want them ruined, and they're very well protected, and it would just take me too damn long to go through boxes to find it. But one of my most popular pieces that people liked was this self-portrait of Millionaire that I did, straight out of gel pen. And I had a little laminating machine, so I laminated a couple of my first favorite sketches that I'd done. And somebody at the time who I grew to almost within a span of 8 years, this person to me just ended up changing for the worst and just lost contact with everyone. And this individual has a lot of stuff, a lot of art pieces that I done at that time. And not too many people, can say they own, an art piece from me. Not too many people. A lot of people could say they saw me do pieces, but not too many people can say they own, art from me though. Because a lot of my stuff, I don't keep. That I do, I scrap it. Now, around this time, or a little bit more farther back, I got into drawing, cars and, lowriders. And we had to use color with them because, it was all about the color of the car, as it were. And 3 of my favorites that I have drawn was this Lamborghini decked out with gold rims and glittery royal blue gel pen. So I wanted a design on the car, so I took one of those tattoos that you'd get out the 25-cent machines and put it on there. It was like great. Another one was this X-Men chopper motorcycle. And then another one was this patriotic, American flag themed chopper motorcycle that was done on poster board. It reminds you, all this was done out of gel pen, so you can imagine how much gel pens I went through from my early days and from my late days in middle school to my days in high school, and even a little bit out of high school, and especially when I was in school, like I said, from my late days of middle school and high school, like how much money was being spent on gel pens, So there's that. To, where I'm at now, like my level is definitely, really up there to where, I keep my sketches that I do, because I keep a lot of sketchbooks that I do, a lot of, sketches that I do like in Ziploc bags that aren't in sketchbooks. And I started to fully develop, which really brought in my level of skill when it came to color, because I was using just basic stuff that I could afford, like crayons, markers, gel pens. Once in a while, if I had the extra money, I had to figure out, okay, like what would I invest to? So sometimes I would invest in a good pack of colored pencils. I would invest into the anime brush markers at the time too, right? With the colors they had available. And I even started experimenting with skin tone colorations of makeup to really bring out the skin tone. And that's when I was like, oh, I don't know which way I can put it. But when I started doing these pieces, like it just came so fast, so much, that while I started posting everything, people were like, man, yo, let me get that, or I'll buy that from you, right? Then gotten to going a little bit back, my first canvas poster board painting was in my senior year. I said to myself, people liked it, but I'm like, I like it. It's just I don't like canvases, man. I don't like painting. Which is going to sound very crazy here in a minute. Because then in 2013, I went to Hobby Lobby bought a 5-pack of canvases. I think it was, or was it 4? I think it was like 5 or 4 pack of canvases that they had on sale, like they do now. And I bought some, I didn't just go out there and just buy paints because, I just couldn't afford paint. So I bought like paints that people would use for shirts, a bit of markers, and done paintings that way on these canvases. I'm like, okay. And a bit of like some glitter to put on like one of them as well. And then so my, that was my two sets of canvas paintings that I'd done in my life. And then about now considered 2 years ago, I'd done some canvas paintings. So I said, you know what? I want to experiment with some canvas painting. So I did that for somebody out of surprise. And I'd done 3rd batch. And then this person wanted some more, so I done a 4th batch. And then I bought I don't know how much I spent, almost like $100 something on 67 or 66 canvases. Not to mention almost $200 something in paints and some brushes. So I've done 5 sets of paintings in my entire life. Believe it or not, I'm just not a fan of canvases like that though. But I like some of the canvases that came out because I still kept to, my older tactics when it came to using, crayon, color pencils, markers, gel pens, makeup, and a bit of paint as well in those art pieces that I truly have done. And I got to do the last of sketches that I wanted to do.
Wait till $3. And sometimes they'll go down.
And why I retired is due to health issues. Focus on myself now when it comes to health. Yeah, my hands have nerve pains in them because of being diabetic and also just shaking so much. And I said, it's time, because I feel like, I have nothing else to prove when it comes to art anymore. And especially sometimes, it can become really, really competitive, because sometimes I would go back and do the same picture so many times over to see what I can do with it. And which brings me now into other, subjects now with art, which is now some good other reasons why I quit, why I didn't choose to fully pursue it. And I'm glad I didn't, because I had experience with most of this shit, what I'm about to share, and I've seen others suffer when they chose to do it. So where do I begin? Okay, schooling with art. To me, there's no rules in art. And that's one thing I hate when it comes to teaching about art, is that they think, everything has to be a right way of doing something. And there's not. There's no right or wrong way. And that's the problem when you get people who are taught art in schools and a lot of their shit looks the same like everyone else's, right? The problem with that is when you're going to these classes right within these college courses, you don't own your work that you do. You do not own your work that you do, because when you turn in your piece and sign it for display, competition, or to display it, when the teacher gets a hold of it, that teacher's going to send it off to somebody else that's going to take credit for your work. And they're going to sell it to stuck up white people who don't know shit about art, who just collect shit to be collecting shit, right? And that person who took claim for your art is going to reap in the rewards. Like some of these, like for example, like I went through this myself, man. I had a couple of pieces that I did I never got to see. And somebody took the fucking credit who don't know shit about art and got the money from it. Yeah. It's disgusting, but it's true. So when people, when they get out of these classes thinking they got themselves a trade, you don't really have yourself a trade at all. Thinking you're going to blow up and make loads of money with doing art. No. Which then brings me to this. There's no money in art. There's no money in art. I want to repeat this again, man. There's like no fucking money in art. Like my sister, there's a reason why she don't do it no more. There's a reason why she didn't continue with her courses that she did in college. Because she had pieces that she did that she never gotten back. And the last stuff that I seen her have was being sent in to be published. Guess what? When they do that, yeah, they're supposed to return your pieces, man. But guess what? Didn't happen. She hasn't seen them in over years, man. And you know what? I remembered some of those pieces look like, and all of a sudden, somebody who had them, some stuck up rich white person in the fucking art industry, took full credit on these pieces and saying they did it. And that was a fucking bullshit lie. And they got paid for it, man. They got paid for it. Like, they did. They got paid for it. It's crazy, but it's true. I've done some pieces when it came to, I had stole from me and somebody made money from. I had I went through, judgment a lot, believe it or not. Throughout my times of doing art, and even now, I can't get the words out, man, because it's disgusting. In this town, doing artwork is considered taboo. It's considered a sin. And because of this is why they don't hold anything with actual art. And they say, okay, we're the artist district. No, you're not. Because if you were the artist district, you would have been holding competitions and letting people express themselves. And if you do art in this town and you show people, man, you're gonna get judged, ridiculed. You're gonna get preached at, all because you're an artist. And I went through that. I still go through that because in this town, people got fucking shit to say about it and say, you need to think about going to church. Because I'm an artist? Because I get ridiculed, judged for it? I've seen a lot of great talent, man, go to waste because of this shit in this town. For real. It happens, but it's true. You know, one thing I never wanted was to go, you know, I want to go commercial with my art. I'm glad I never went commercial with it, because my first taste of doing commercial art was in high school, and I didn't know my shit was about to be fucking displayed in front with some other people. Mine was really up front, because it was good stuff. I said to myself, this ain't how I want my shit displayed. I want to be commercial like this. Because it just hit me so wrong. And I said to myself, you know what? I realized from that day, my art ain't meant for commercialized, man. My art is meant for the enjoyment of others within the underground scene of the underground world. Within the underground world of art. Just like music. With underground music. It's like when doing, you know, it's like you know, to give a bit more of example when it comes like with there not being no money in art, right? I wish I used to buy a lot of the Dragon Ball Z magazines they used to sell here in America, and I used to buy a lot of them from Piggly Wiggly's, you know, so me and Mom, you know, we would walk there because it was in walking distance at the time, because we stayed over at another place here in town. And used to buy the new article, you know, the new issue that would always come out, and you would get a poster inside. And I remember looking at one of the articles, right, just looking at the pictures, because, you know, my reading ain't that great. But when I got older, I remember seeing the same article, and I could read a little bit. And the people that do the artwork for like the Chinese anime shows here in America, when it comes to the recoloring, the redrawing, because a lot of the cartoon shows from, you know, before me, and then with me being born and, you know, growing up, you know, they were all done by hand. You know, rather than today's stuff that's out, it's all done by CGI and, you know, computer animated of some sort. You know, nothing is truly done by hand in today's time. So the people that would do these shows, just like the people that would do Cartoon Network shows such as Cow and Chicken, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Dexter's Laboratory, and Powerpuff Girls, their workplace, it ain't all fancy and big like they paint it out to be to us on TV. They were put in a sweatshop in a very small, cramped workspace. And you know how much those people's checks were? From those that done like the animated shows, like the Chinese English dub animated shows, to the regular cartoon shows. You know how much their checks were? You know how much their checks were? $5. Throughout the time of them working there, it's all they saw, man. It's all they saw. And it's sad. It's disgusting. But it's true. It's true. Just like, you know, there used to be an airbrush shop here in the mall. And the guy, his name was Gary, and I learned how to do shirts through him outside of his work. And, you know, he was maybe getting orders and doing shirts constantly, but at the end of the day, he barely made any money from that. You know, one week he may made a good, you know, $50 to $100 one week. and then having to take on extra work and just to pay, you know, the venue slot that he rented out, just to try to keep it open, you know, because somebody who worked with him, he was good, but same thing with him, man. You know, you may have pulled in, you know, $50 one day, and you know, one week you may pull in 100, but it doesn't matter how many shirts you do, there was still no money in it at the end of the day, and you got to try to keep that cash register filled, because whatever was in there, he's like, okay, man, there's either this or that in there, you know, just take out what you need, when it came to paying his employee and plus trying to pay himself as well. And that's why a lot of t-shirt screen businesses don't really last long in this town, because I guarantee you they go through the same thing. You know, people may want something done for a t-shirt, but at the end of the day, you know, they're barely pulling in anything, because yes, it's going to be expensive, because the materials they use are costly. Because I used to do clothing, so I know exactly how that feels when it comes to the spending process. I do. I know how that feels. And, you know, it's sad. Just like, you know, why I chose to also, you know, quit art is because, to me, the stuff that's out today, I don't consider real artwork. You know, people get the digital drawing tablets and passing it off as real art. To me, what you're doing is Photoshop airbrushed art, because there's only so much that you can do with those digital tablets. Mainly just a lot of shadowing and shading, no extra detail, and because it's not like a physical piece. And me, I like physical work. I like physical artwork, because you can see detail, you can see the texture, you can feel the texture, you're able to hold it, you're able to actually enjoy it and display it. Plus it has more value and way more meaning than something that's done on a tablet that nobody can really get enjoyment, you know, out of, like, at all. So to me, that's just, you know, to me, not real art. Just like a lot of these fake portrait paintings that places like Walmart and Hobby Lobby sell, you know, they have a stupid price on them, right? And people are buying them saying, man, I got this artwork right here. Man, it's not artwork, because a lot of that stuff is photoshopped to be made HD, printed by machines on canvas wood and canvas boards, and it's sold for ridiculous prices. And they're so heavily duplicated that there's thousands on top of thousands on top of thousands on top of thousands out there being sold, and plus kept in the warehousing that they come from. And people rather spend an arm and a leg on something that's so heavily mass produced, rather than spending less money on something that's one of a kind, that is not done by machine, something that's done by hand, painted by somebody, right? Like, let me give you an example. Like, one of my favorite shows, even though the popularity died down from it, is The Walking Dead. And I remember one of the seasons, they done like self portraits like this, and you would thought it was took with a camera. It wasn't. It was airbrush photoshopped, promoting it off like that, which is crazy. So it wasn't even real, right? Well, going back to what I said about people wanting to buy fake paintings, right? Put it this, it's like this, right? As well, people want to spend $50 to $100 on a fake piece of art at these stores, When you have somebody like me, I'm going to do something that's one of a kind. I'm not going to remass produce it. It's going to be painted by hand. And I'm only going to charge you $15, $20. You can save you a lot more money that way if you were to just buy $15, $20, but you choose to buy arm and a leg on something that's been heavily mass produced, that has no meaning or value, like something that I do that's going to have meaning and value to it. And if you want to buy it, you can buy it. I'm not going to charge you an arm and leg, $15, $20, depending on what it is. That's it. And that's how much, I would charge when people would ask me to do a drawing. They wanted black and white, like a regular sketch. They tell you what, man, just pay me $10. If you want something in color, pay me $20. I had some people, that did pay me, though. Don't get me wrong. I made around, most, if anything, $30 once, and that was it. That was it. $30. $30. Like, this woman, she wanted 2 drawings done in color, like $20, and you know what? She gave me 30, man. She gave me 30. Or, for example, like my father, we may not got the best relationship in the world, but he used to do wood crafting, like actual wood crafting, making one-of-a-kind pieces out of wood. And, he would spend an arm and leg on the wood, and arm and leg on the paints that he used. And, he would make them for people that want one, or, he would make them for himself. A lot of that stuff, he doesn't have anymore. But some of the stuff he has, is still in the house. And he tried to sell it one year, right? And we had like this little, medium-sized garage sale going on or whatever. And he had his wood mandelicans and a wood shelf he made for, I think, around $15, $20. I was there helping out, so I know exactly what they were around. The mannequins were around $15, and like this medium-sized wooden shelf was that you could open it to put stuff in, was for $20. And a lot of the older people, were looking at it, admiring it, saying it was nice, but they didn't want to buy it because of the price. Like, to them, to the arrogant people that do that shit, like, they look at a cheap price and say, that's too much. But you rather go to places like Lowe's, Walmart, or Hobby Lobby and buy stuff that's made out of wood, but it's made by machines. It's not even made by hand. And the stuff that's made by machines that are made out of wood are so heavily mass produced that there's thousands beyond thousands beyond thousands of them. So you rather go out and spend an arm and a fucking leg on something rather than spending, again, $15, $20, right? You're going to get much more higher quality than something that you're going to buy from the store. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. So because of that, is again, with everything that I shared, is why, I quit art. And going into, it again, like, Columbia, Tennessee is supposed to be known as the artist district. Bro, we ain't even the artist district. Like, they don't hold no art competitions. They don't hold anything to upcoming artists to help display their art so other people can see it. They don't. You can't even do jobs or businesses when it comes to art in this town, because again, it's considered fucking taboo, a sin, and you get judged for it, ridiculed for it, and it's fucking sickening. Like, our movie theater hired so many different mural painters to do movie actors and characters over the years. Guess what? They did not leave that up there long, because all of a sudden, they're gonna paint right over it. And that's a waste of whoever done the artwork. That's a waste of their time. And I hope they got paid for it. And I hope they got paid, very, very, very well. Just like when some people complain about some artists that charge too much money. Man, there's a reason for it. It's because, we want to make sure we're going to get our take. We want to make sure people are going to enjoy it. Because we don't know when our next dollar or our next meal is going to be coming from if you're trying to survive on artwork alone. And if somebody says, man, you could make money from art, this person's making a lot of money from art, it's because that person sold themselves. And they didn't even know it. Ask them how many of their pieces they still own when it came to these classes and working for a business. Ask them. I guarantee you they're going to say, I don't own any. I never saw none of my stuff back. Yeah, you want to know why? It's because your shit got claimed and fucking sold by somebody else who taking full credit for your work. Just like when people who work in the fashion industry, when it comes to doing the sketches for patterns and shit, that's a bit higher. You may see some pay from that because that's something to do with the business that involves with clothing, which is no more around your regular $500-$800 check, which is good money. But are you really making money like that as an artist? Because let me tell you something, I proved myself times and times again, improved my work with what I can do with art, and that's why I got the title the King of Art, and why I had that airbrushed on so many shirts when I got into music and promoting music, because I'm letting people know who the fuck I am. And people like me, you ever make any money from that? No, but just know this: you want to challenge me to something like that, the table is open, the door is open. And I remember, somebody took me to go see an art professor at Columbia State. Man, I wanted to punch this motherfucker in the face so goddamn bad. This art professor. I showed him my work. He's gonna have the fucking audacity to, one, not even fucking really shake my hand. Two, talk to me within a way like, look, man, I'm just trying to chop it up with you, man, for a little bit. You ain't got to be all rude. Three, saying, oh, your pieces are okay, but it's not real art because it's done out of pen. I got students, blah, 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 blah. I'm thinking to myself, and I said, look, man, if that's how you feel and how you think, and if you think your students are that damn good, because to me, I think that you're jealous of what you just saw because you can't master the pen like I mastered the pen in art. Grab one of your students. Matter of fact, grab yourself. We can have an art competition, man, in front of everybody and see who comes out the best. Like, no, there ain't no need for that. And when people always say that shit, talking about, man, oh, I'm better than you. Hey, man, if you want this smoke, the fade is for free. If you want it within that area of art, because if you think you can outdo me, then prove it. And a lot of people just didn't want that shit. I'm not one of the best who did it. I'm the best who have ever fucking did it in the world of art. The best. And it has been proven, man. So with this being said, I know this video is a bit long, but let me tell you something. I'm glad I was able to do this video because it needed to be done. And if people ask me, can you do something, like, look, man, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm retired, and I'm glad I am. I have nothing else to prove with me doing art. That being said, I'm out. Peace.